Hi, I'm 2021 Why Not Cam Awards winner Chelsea Poe. I'm here to tell you about my cam studio, Treasure Cams. Treasure Cams is a performer-led webcam studio owned by queer porn star Bella Vendetta. We welcome all 21 plus models who want to earn a paycheck from home as cam performers. We're open to all body types, genders, persuasions, and presentations. You get access to our performer-only forums, monthly team meetings, as well as help with promotion and marketing. For customers, check out treasurecams.com to see all of our models, schedules, and photos. treasurecams.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Performers Pod. Today, I'm with AVN nominee and my fellow East Bay brat, Jupiter Jetson. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you. You've been doing such cool stuff lately. I feel like since last time I saw you, you're doing all this mainstream porn stuff now, and you're really just blowing up. It's just so awesome to see.
I'm I still feel like I'm not doing anything, but then I look and I'm oh, I'm doing stuff.
You're definitely doing stuff. It's so cool just to see, because I feel like with our little collective, you've been in 2 of the films, and I feel like we all kind of the way we do it, so collaborative. So just seeing one of us go off on their own and do some mainstream porn stuff and have their own success out of that, it's just so much fun to see. So
well, I give the brats shout outs all the time in interviews that I do, because the East Bay Brats project was kind of my first not mainstream but collaborative porn project, working it's an actual film set and setting things up and working with others. I hadn't really done that, with the exception of a couple of one-on-one content trades. So I always say the brats were my porno gateway drug.
That's so great that we could be that.
Yeah, there was, I feel you guys and Since Age kind of take dual responsibility for kind of leading me the primrose path, if you will, to pursuing mainstream, because it was actually Courtney who told me, because I was oh, I'd love to do something mainstream, and she was well, they look like you, you could just do that. She was you know what I mean,
yeah,
I hadn't even thought about it. I was oh, hell, I probably couldn't I? Dope, hell yeah. But I always say that the Brats is the most fun set to work on, and
yeah.
I almost feel it's that experience might make me sometimes come off not a know-it-all, but I feel sometimes on sets I might have more creative input than is necessarily expected of me, and I feel it's because of the experience on that, on those sets, because it's everybody putting in their creative input to make something awesome. I just kind of am oh, that's how they all work, right?
Yeah, it's just such a different experience, because the way we work is everyone's doing everything, where it's you might be in the scene, but you're okay, I'm gonna help set up lights for this scene right after. And then I'm I always do videography and performing. So it's 2 totally opposite sides that I feel you never see that mainstream set of someone doing videography and then being okay, I need to do an enema and get ready for this scene now, you know?
Yeah. No, would never.
So you reached out to us. We got a vouch from Since Age, which obviously if Since Age is vouching for anyone, it's always a yes. And you were just oh, you guys, what you're doing is so cool, and can I be a part of it? And honestly, when you came, it was just a totally just easy thing that you just came in and contributed like everyone else. It was just such an amazing.
Yeah, no, it was super dope, because I had seen East Bay Brats the first 2, and y'all were just folks that I follow on Twitter, you know what I mean? Because I love I really do. I still love I love the things that you guys are doing. I genuinely
you're part of it now, though.
No, I know
we're doing
that we're doing, I guess. Yeah. Well, but I mean, I follow everyone's independent projects and everything that the Trouble Films umbrella is pushing out and all of that, and it's it's all really exciting and like authentic things that are being put out, which I like. It's, nothing against, mind you, I love the silly scripted, like all of that, like kind of like
Yeah.
almost like, I think of it as almost like vaudeville porn, you know?
Yeah. Or it's
um
almost like a satire.
it,
Yeah.
it is National Lampoons versus like, Family Vacation versus like, Waiting for Godot. And I think you guys are close
Yeah.
thing. You guys are waiting for Godot's, like yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
Sorry.
that's the
My
most
brain
Midwest.
burped.
No, I feel like that's so we're both from the Midwest too. You're from Ohio, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
So I feel like we have that connection where I'm like, yeah, National Lampoon. I know like all of that so well because I feel like it's just stuff you like grow up watching in the Midwest.
Wait, do all these folks on the coast not like watch
No,
that?
I showed
What?
my partner it like last year and she's like, I've never seen the National Lampoon's Christmas. And she's like, yeah, never heard of it. I'm like,
What?
really?
Oh
I
my
think it's
God.
I think because I'm kind of started putting the pieces together in that era of like 90s movies, everything was in the Midwest. Like Home Improvement was in Detroit. You had the Drew Carey show in Cleveland. You had National Lampoons was in Chicago. So I think there might be a thing that people from the Midwest are ultra nostalgic for 90s things because it was when there was like so much media based there or like appearing to be there.
That's a really great take that I hadn't really thought of, but you're absolutely right. Like the 90s were the last time we saw like kind of, I mean, they were still always upper middle class, families, but like
Yeah.
it was like the last time you saw like anything resembling normal families. You know what I mean? Like in
Hmm.
like movies like that weren't like living in like on the coasts in houses and apartments that are like astronomically expensive and yet
Hmm.
people somehow just happen to exist in like things like that. Yeah. So I mean, I guess that started in the 90s too, looking at you friends. Um but yeah, no, I hadn't really thought about that. But you're totally like I think you're onto something.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like when there were still jobs there and it was so like all optimistic.
Have you ever seen the video that's like the Cleveland tourism video? And it's
Oh
just like
yeah.
this train is carrying jobs out of Cleveland.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, yeah, no, it's
And you know the slogan at the end of it, right?
we're not Detroit.
Exactly.
We're not I'm from Cleveland. Yes. Um I absolutely am familiar with the slogan. That's like literally that's our entire slogan. Like that's our city slogan. It's just we're not Detroit.
Yeah, I feel like Cleveland is just really boring. I'm not trying to start stuff, but like Detroit's just abandoned. I think that's the difference.
So I will give you that. Cleveland, and I don't know if I want to give like the word to anybody else because things are crazy out there, but actually like both Cleveland and Detroit. I don't know if have you been in like the last like 5 to 10 years?
No. Wait,
So
like 10 years?
10 years is kind of pushing it out a bit far. I'd
Mhm.
say like 7 is when the shift really started. And Detroit's a little bit ahead of Cleveland, but like Detroit especially offered like just a buttload of like vouchers and like free housing to like artists and like artistic
Mhm.
communities to like kind of get rid of a lot of the abandoned areas. And Cleveland followed suit, but followed up by also offering like film discounts and incentives. So like a lot of the superhero movies, when they're destroying New York, they're actually destroying Cleveland. Um, like
Oh
fun
my
facts.
god.
Yeah,
The
like
Mi-
all
I feel like the psyche of the Midwest is so weird because like when I moved out to California, I was like, so where's all the abandoned part of town? And they're like, we don't have that. And I'm like, what do you mean?
you're right. I really haven't seen a lot of like empty lots and abandoned anything out here
It's weird
so
because being
much.
from the
Yeah. Well,
Midwest, you're just it's there.
there's ghost towns here, but that's like a little different. Like
Yeah.
there's not like because you're from like kind of a smaller, you're from like Holland, aren't you?
Yeah, it's
I
2 hours
remember that
north
because
of Chicago.
I always remember that because before I met you, I thought you were from like Holland, Holland. Like,
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
like,
it's not that different, honestly. Like, we have windmills, we have like our economy is based on a tulip festival. So it's some
okay.
weird shit. We have street signs in Dutch. It's weird because I'm very Midwestern, but it's also like this whole thing. So it's really effing weird.
So it's essentially it's I mean like the same as we have Ukrainian Village in
Yeah.
Cleveland, and like you see like it's kind of why like like I'm from Cleveland, but a lot of like my home comfort foods are like Eastern European
Yeah.
like staple foods like pierogies and bigos and like that kind of stuff, like lots of sauerkraut in
Yeah,
my childhood. And
definitely
it's
same.
but I'm not from Eastern Europe, but
Yeah.
that's like the cultural kind of influence I grew up. I'm mostly Irish by like if you listen to
Mhm.
ancestry.com. But all Polish food, Ukrainian
Yeah,
food, like
there's a
that
lot
kind
of
of stuff.
Polish food in Michigan too. I feel like that's a lot of the Midwest where there's these little pockets where these immigrants move like 4 generations ago and no one leaves. So you just like have
Yeah,
a town that's all Ukrainian or all Dutch or all German. It's just like these little weird pockets.
yeah, no. And thanks to those little weird pockets, I've been on a hunt for pierogies in the desert. Literally.
That's
I
gonna be hard to
actually
get.
I got a lead last night. Or was that? No, it was the night before last. Sorry. My day time is an illusion. But yeah, I actually apparently there is a like Eastern European restaurant in Vegas. And I know
Really?
people, yes, I know people who are, but I've been here for almost a year and I am just now getting a lead on pierogies.
So are you
And I
officially in
cannot,
Vegas full time now?
yeah, I've been
Oh
in
wow.
Vegas full time since July of last year
Oh
or
wow.
June of last year. Yeah. It's
That's a big
been
move.
yeah, it's I never realized how many of my like personal hobbies were like water body based
Yeah.
until I moved to the desert. And now I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know what to do with myself here.
Yeah, I feel like there's just so many cultural differences when you move to the West Coast where it's just like, yeah, I can't find Polish food anywhere here. There's zero places with that. It's just so different in so many ways.
Yeah, and I also feel like sometimes because like I travel a lot in
Mhm,
between, like, and I spend a lot of my time like at a brothel, like about half, oh, I'll go almost close to half my time at a brothel,
mhm.
where I'm like surrounded with a lot of the ladies still live in the Midwest. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know, man. I even though I'm like on the West Coast now and I've lived in big cities before, like I know that you don't like smile and shake your head and like say hi to everybody you
Oh,
see on the
it's
street
so
out
hard
here,
to
but
get
like
over it.
I don't care. I will look like a crazy person. I will be friendly on the street.
My partner's always
I
like,
can't.
"You're being way too nice to people. You're being way too nice." It's like it's not that way here. I'm like, it's just like ingrained in here where I'm like, "Oh, hi, how are you doing?"
Yeah.
I don't
How's your day
know. It's
going?
just there.
Yeah, no, I can't. I'm with you. I can't. It is a part of my cultural fabric I don't care to discard. You
Yeah,
know,
I
if
I genuinely like that the idea of trying to be genuinely nice and then how it's
you
just so
just look like
different there.
it is, but I mean, like, there's things I like about both places.
Mhm.
I'm a big stargazer, and that is nice out here. We do
Mm.
not have. I mean, you're still in the Bay, right?
Yeah, I'm in SF. I'm in the middle of the city, so you really can't see anything ever.
Yeah, your light pollution situation is very different, but like I'm basically like I can see red rocks from my like bedroom.
Oh my
Like I'm
God,
like
really?
yeah, I'm like on the edge. Like
Wow.
I'm not gonna get too specific, but
Yeah.
I'm on the edge of Vegas. So like I'm like very close to like I'm close enough that I'm happy, like, and I can like clearly like I there's a Trader Joe's like a short
Hmm.
drive, like, I can there's grocery stores, there's like civilization, but also like if I drive 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'm like in the darkness. And we get even just outside of Vegas, we get up down to like a 2 on the portal scale. Sometimes like a 3 and
Wow.
yeah, like a 2 or 3, which is like the darkest it goes is 1. So like it's good. Like
I
you can
never
see
realized
Milky
it
Way.
went that far down. That's crazy.
It goes like it gets super dark super fast. Like you really don't have to be that far out of the city, because I don't know the exact science of it, but I'm sure it's got to be something to do with the lack of humidity.
Oh, that makes
But
sense because there's not probably
yeah,
as much of an atmosphere there to reflect light.
yeah, yeah, because that's usually what ends up screwing up a lot of my stargazing in Ohio, is that there's so much humidity that like the visibility could be great, but it's just not. Out here you don't have that problem. So like you're just like legit like 15 minutes down like Blue Diamond Road, and you don't even have to go over the mountains before you're in just like pitch blackness, Milky Way. Like it's nice. I
It's
dig
really
that.
crazy with Vegas that it's just like a line and then civilization stops basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Oh,
just
because it's
so
all
different.
fake. Well,
Yeah.
because it's like, it's back down to the differences in like, West versus like East, in that like all of the cities on the West Coast kind of like sprung up kind of organically because they were like on trading routes, they were on ports, they
Yeah,
were like,
rivers.
which some of the cities, like the coastal cities on the West Coast, it's the same story. But like a place like Vegas, like founded on corporate interest, baby.
Yeah, right?
like it doesn't it's I always say living here kind of feels like getting locked into Disneyland after closing time.
Oh, I could see that for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of that vibe. Like it's not a real place. Like it's
Yeah.
real, but it's not a real place.
Yeah, whenever I'm in Europe, and I talk about Vegas or Phoenix to people, they're so confused. They're like, how can a city be 50 years old? It just like doesn't make sense to them.
Wait, Phoenix is only 50 years old?
Yeah, the population in the 60s and 70s was like barely anything. It's all been like the
Really?
last like yeah, I think 50 to 60 years.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Now I want to find out how old Santa Fe is. Santa Fe's got to be older.
I think it's old. I think it's really old. I think it's original like Spanish mission or something. I might be
That's okay.
wrong.
I was gonna say it can't that I was say if that is like corporate like old scaping, I'm talking about like where like they make like fake European cities as like a shopping mall. They
Oh
did a great
yeah.
job. If
Yeah.
that's the case. But
So, how did you get into porn and sex work when you were in Ohio? Because being in the Midwest, it feels like it's almost kind of hard to get into that because it feels like it's like strip clubs and stuff exist there and like some adult industry stuff, but I feel like it's so small and just kind of isolated.
so I've been coming back and forth to Sherry's for like since 2018 at this
Hmm.
point. And I mean, I had done, some stripping in Cleveland when I was like 18. And I mind you, to be fully transparent, I have lived all over. Like I've lived in New York, I've lived in Eugene, Oregon, I've lived in Berlin, I've lived, where else? A lot of places. I've Philadelphia. I always forget Philly because you should forget Philly.
Yeah.
Um,
Of that list, that's to say it's like, oh.
totally fair. Listen, Dolly Parton doesn't have any songs about how much she loves Philadelphia. Okay, she does have one for Eugene.
I
Uh,
honestly, when I was there, I was like, I think I'm gonna get stabbed today. I thought that the entire time for some reason.
I mean, I was there for like 9 months, and that tracks.
Yeah.
Like that absolutely tracks, dude. I am the most like straight passing queer person, and
Hmm.
I got gay bashed in Philly. Like Jesus Christ, it is for an East Coast town. Like I don't know what happened, but all of like the East Coast intelligentsia elites, they skipped Philly. Like I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, but not sorry. Because the thing is like Philadelphia, I would be worried about people in the comments like coming to like fight for Philly. But true story, when I moved to Philadelphia, I moved there because my best friend lived there.
Hmm.
And when I moved there, I kept telling people like, yeah, I just moved to Philly. And people would always look at me and say, why? And those are people from there. Literally, that was their reaction every single time was, why? What?
That's
It
so
did not
funny.
inspire. So that's why I would be worried and I would apologize for just absolutely tearing apart Philadelphia. But the thing is I can't do it like they do it. So
Yeah, I
I think
mean,
we're safe.
also, if someone moved to Cleveland, that would definitely be the answer. Be like, why did you move here?
Oh yeah, I tend to see Williams that all the time. Like, why'd you move to Philly? I always say Cleveland.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
like,
makes sense.
but
Like Cleveland to Philadelphia is like this to this. Like you're going up.
it is still upward momentum. And like Philadelphia was such a shit show that it's like just literally catapulted me to the West Coast because I went straight to the West Coast from Philly.
That makes
Um,
sense.
yeah. But I got into porn. I got into like the adult industry like in my late 20s because I read a Cracked article about like
Mm,
legal sex work, and I was like, oh snap, that's an option, huh? Because I'm just too chicken shit for the life on the edge indie provider life. Like I
yeah,
can't.
that's a lot
I so much respect, so much solidarity. Hashtag decrim now,
for
but
sure.
I just, for me personally, it was a risk that I didn't feel safe taking, especially because like I'm responsible for other humans, not my children,
Mhm.
but you know, like there's other humans who depend on. I don't have
Yeah,
kids, but I have other humans who depend on me. So like I'm just like I can't go to jail or
yeah.
die right now if I can avoid it. So I, as soon as I found out it was legally an option, I was like, hell yeah. And after a little bit of working at the brothel, I was talking to people about, I ended up like on a porn set because I gave a friend of mine a ride to a porn set. And I was like, oh, I'd love to do porn, but like, you know, I wasn't raised in this special field where they breed us and feed us candy cane and wait until we're old enough to fuck on camera. You know, like I don't know. Like I had no idea how like you got into being a porn star. I assumed
For
like you
sure.
had to be like, you know somebody who knows somebody or whatever. And um clearly that's not the case. um
Yeah, I feel like so much of it's just by chance that you meet one person and they do it, and then you're like, oh, that's how it's done. And then it just kind of becomes more accessible. I definitely thought it was so far away. I never thought it would lead from one thing to the next, you know?
yeah, no, I had like zero clue how any of that worked. Like even when I reached out to the brats, the only reason I did that because I had been doing like indie stuff for a while.
Mhm.
It literally took Sin being like, because I was like, how do you go about asking people if they'd want to collaborate with you? Because I had people in mind, top of the list, you folks, and at the very top, and was just like, how do I do that? And she was like, oh, you email them and you say you'd like to work with them, and usually if you're a hot girl, like they say yes.
Yeah.
Like facts. You know what I mean?
It's always such
So
a hard part of being in this industry because like you have to like almost message someone and just be like, yeah, I would really like to collaborate on something together. And you have to like keep it very vague because you don't want to be like, oh, I want to fuck you right now, you know? But that's kind of what it is. And it's like this weird thing in our industry.
right, like it is, yeah. That's it's something that's like it's almost normal now, but like, yeah, it took someone literally telling me that you literally just ask. Like I had no idea. So yeah, no, not a super exciting story for how I got
I
into the
mean,
industry, but
I think that's pretty interesting. Like that you like were all over and then you got thrown out to the West Coast essentially, and then you found legal sex work through a Cracked article. That's I think a pretty interesting story.
yeah, I mean, like I thank you, I appreciate that. Cracked, I have sent Cracked an email telling them that they changed the directional course of my life, and they have not responded. But
So
they love me.
yeah, so what was there really a moment that made you realize that this was going to be more than just like a few shoots, that you really wanted to pursue this?
Um, to be honest, I make this joke all the time. I've said it 1,000 times, but it's absolutely true. My first time on a porn set, like it really felt like a nun coming to the convent for the first time. Like it was a calling. Like this is what I belong doing. Like legit, I don't know how graphic I can get on this,
Oh,
but
go as far as you want. Go
oh,
for it.
dope.
100%. Yeah, you
Legit,
can swear. It doesn't matter.
I
Anything
have
is
a
fine.
super like I don't know what it is, but like my body just gets super turned on the second there's a camera. Like legit. Like I
Yeah.
can be doing something that I'm not necessarily turned on by. And I'm just like, yeah,
It's like the
let's go.
performance of it, right?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know what that says about me, but I'm super turned on by like just being filmed and being watched. And like I always was super like I've always been more turned on by like random sex with people I've never met before than like,
Mhm.
you know, don't get me wrong, I love intimacy and like there's a whole different I feel like we need to be like more expressive with language to describe different kinds of like love and attraction
Mhm.
and like satisfaction. But like I've always been most turned on with strangers. Like it's I had a lot of random sex in my 20s.
Yeah, I did before I like really figured out, oh, you can do that for your job instead and not like,
The
yeah.
awakening. Oh my
Yeah, being
god,
like, oh
yeah.
wow, I can actually use this all as an outlet instead of just being like disappointed.
I, yes. Like I can it's literally having your cake and eating it too.
Hmm.
And then getting paid for it later when someone wants a cake fetish like custom. Like
Exactly. 100%.
it's amazing. So yeah, like it was literally from the first time, like from the first like okay, like when I went to the brothel the first time, I kept my job that I'd had at the time. I just told them that I had to go back to Ohio and handle family matters. And I mean there are some taboo role play involved that week. I wasn't
Yeah,
entirely
so
lying.
that's truthful.
Um, but I called them within 3 days of being there, just like, yeah, I'm not gonna be back. I'm not gonna be back. Sorry guys. See you next life. Like I knew the first week I was at a, and I wasn't even at the brothel that I knew I wanted to stay at, and I knew that at the moment. I was like, okay, so this isn't the place for me. But fuck, do I love this industry? Like I love this job. I love this. I love all of it. And then when I found out you can just like record it and also do that for your job, sign me up.
That's so
Yeah.
great that you found that, and particularly when you did join the industry, there's already platforms like mini vids and stuff like that around. So you had a place to put all the stuff you're making.
Yeah, I didn't have to like worry about like God, I think about like the like entrepreneurs of like yesteryear, like the people who like would put out like ads or like cards in like the phone booths, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
whew, the that's a lot of courage.
for
You know what I
sure.
mean? Like we have like all of this like I don't know, we're not selling you know, VHS tapes through the mail and running the risk of getting arrested.
Oh,
Not even going back there.
we were still selling DVDs when I started. Like with Trouble Films,
Really?
we would have a like a day of the week where I would come and we just do mail order for like 2 hours.
Jesus.
It's crazy to think that was still like a thing. That was even that long ago. That was probably 6, 7 years ago, where people were still buying DVDs. I have a bunch of DVDs in my closet right now that I don't know when they're ever gonna get sold, but I have a bunch.
You know, what was that like? Like, was it like a slow tapering or did just like overnight you just stopped getting like orders for DVDs?
Um,
Like, how's that work?
we used to have a distributor. It was really weird. So what they would do is, so we'd have a movie come out, and then we'd sell like $5,000, $6,000 in movies like the day of, right? But then these stores would return them if they weren't sold in an amount of time. So then you start owing them money. It was this huge like scheme where our first checks
Oh,
from all this stuff was like gigantic. Like I remember when I first made Fucking Mystic, it was like, oh wow, this is like real money, like getting royalty checks of over like $1,000 and stuff. And then it all just
yeah.
kind of changed once we stopped doing that distribution thing, because we were getting put in this situation where we're like owing money despite them paying us money and buying our movies.
Jesus.
So it was like this really complex thing. And then by the time we were done with that, it kind of shifted solely to streaming. I don't think anyone really sells DVDs anymore, other than like maybe an occasional sex shop like the Pleasure Chest or something.
Yeah. That sounds a little bit like what's happening. Have you heard about I guess there was some viral TikTok that went around that was like, did you know you can return ebooks? And just because you can doesn't mean you should, because when you do, apparently there's small authors are apparently being put in that same position. People are returning ebooks after having read them, and then the authors are ending up owing money at the end of the month.
That's so sketchy. Yeah, in our case, it wasn't clients returning it; it was
Yeah,
the
the
stores. Yeah,
distributor. Yeah.
yeah,
No, but it's like different level, but same, like different level of the market, but
yeah.
still, it's funny sometimes because I don't know how I ended up. I'm on like my Twitter is the strangest amalgamation of algorithms. But one of the things that I'm consistently shown is like literary publishing Twitter.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what that's about, but I am always shown literary publishing Twitter. And so I see a lot of discourse around that lately. And it's actually really possibly because I spend a lot of time reading through it. It's like it sent it to me once and they're just like, oh, she'll read this. Why not? But there's so much overlap and like commonality between literary publishing, like vanilla publishing, if
Mhm.
you will, and porn publishing that I almost feel like it's a shame that maybe we do already have, you know, kind of networks in place, kind of bridging into one group. But
Mhm.
if not, we should think about it because seriously, same struggles.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really interesting just to see what the future of porn is, because I feel like it's moving towards a streaming model, and I feel like the studios are just having less and less power. So it's just gonna be really interesting when in like 5 years where it's gonna be. And I think it gives me hope because I think the performers are gonna have more control, but I just don't know how much money is gonna be there as compared to before.
That is, I mean, I don't know. I have the idea, this kind of view of sex work as not a pie so much as a bakery. You
Mm,
know what I mean? Like, I feel like people have always paid for sexuality.
for sure.
It's something that like even is there's animal models of it. Like there's when I forget which primate, but there's certain primates that if they have extra fruit, they trade that extra fruit for a handy,
Yeah, I
you know?
mean, I feel like sex work is, I mean, it's definitely the world's oldest profession. I think it's gonna always exist. Porn's always gonna exist no matter how much people try to regulate it.
Yeah, exactly. And to be completely honest, I mean, there's I've seen a lot of discussion about it, and quite frankly, if mind you, it's a streaming is the way to go. But I mean, the more you regulate it, the more expensive porn gets.
Yeah.
I mean, people used to spend I don't even know how much on a VHS, and that was in $1990. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like it's I'm not saying it's a good thing, it's a very bad thing because that price is associated with the amount of risk it takes to make, produce, and distribute it.
Mhm.
But I'm just saying I don't know if money is going to be the issue. I think that more censorship and an overall societal demonization might be more of the problems that we're facing with streaming
Yeah,
and
I
just
feel
like
like
the climate in general.
I think of the United States, I think that's the case, but I also see like the rise of porn festivals around the world, especially in the last like 5, 6 years, where there's now porn festivals happening throughout the United States, throughout Europe, throughout South America, like that there's really now being a movement to take porn as like a serious medium. I think is giving me a lot of hope for what the future is, at least internationally, even if it affects mainstream porn in the United States in a negative way. But I also feel like we're at a more known point about sex work than kind of ever. So I don't know. In some ways, I feel like it's going to become a thing that's so much more normalized, where I feel like everyone knows someone who's a cam girl now, where 10 years ago that was not the case. So
Everyone
I
knew a
don't know.
cam girl, but that cam girl was hiding the fact that she was a cam girl.
Exactly. I did when I first started camming. I was like, I don't want my roommates to know. And now it's, you know, my whole family knows. And they're like, wow, we're proud of you and shit. And it's just like so crazy that culture has gone that far in, the past decade.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. And I don't know who to thank for that, but it is nice. I do worry about backlash, but also, I mean, I'm coming at this from a distinctly American viewpoint. I think
Mm-hmm.
globally it might be a much more promising picture, and there is a lot of really beautiful art being made in porn, and it does seem like there's more of a recognition in mainstream like
Mm-hmm.
spaces to recognize porn as art. You know
Yeah,
what
I
I
mean,
mean?
even at AVN, you have people who now talk about porn as art. And I honestly think 5 years ago, if someone said that, they would have gotten laughed at. And it's just so different now where you have someone win an AVN and be like, this is my art, this is my passion. And 5 years
Well,
ago, people would have been like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're fucking on camera. And
but
now it really is accepted.
I would wager a bet that if you asked any working artist today, like in any physical medium that involves drawing, if you ask them what they used to draw on their schoolwork,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying pornography is quite possibly the first art. Okay.
Yep.
Everyone draws dicks.
Yep.
Everyone draws dicks. Everyone draws boobies, but everyone draws dicks. It's literally the first art, like a desire to, if you look back, that's like, I mean, we have like 1,000-year-old pornographic
Yeah.
watercolors from like
100%.
Japan. Like, if it's, I saying that pornography is art is a disservice to pornography and a sanitization of art. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of I don't know, Mormon washing art history, when I mean, like, I don't know, man. There's a reason why everybody in those paintings is naked.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
Yeah, I feel like we just try to remove so much of sexuality throughout our history, and then you really have to just discover it, and then you're like, oh wow, this is actually part of our collective history, as
well,
opposed to just being a thing that people use to masturbate and then put away.
I always forget his name. I think was it De Gaulle who painted the ballerinas?
I think so.
I think it was De Gaulle. I always forget, but all of those ballerinas were working girls.
Mm-hmm.
Every last one of them. Like, it's literally part of the history. Like, there is such an intertwining, because also, just like today, where if you want to make a living as an artist, you might have to supplement with sex work.
Yep.
Back in those days, if you wanted to make a living as an artist, you had to supplement with sex work.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the hierarchy existed back then, where there were the, artsy muse workers, and there were the ladies working the streets, just like now. Like, I personally think that they're inseparable. We
100%.
try, though. We absolutely try, because repression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mm.
I think that's just such an important thing to talk about. And that's kind of the whole point of this podcast, is to have conversations like that. That's like, we wouldn't have gotten to that off a simple question.
Oh, yeah. When did you lose your virginity?
Yeah, right. And like, this would have talking about the history of art and porn and how intertwined it is. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean,
that's just
well,
so
because,
important.
but I mean, like, you can't make, I mean, and the thing is we still managed to tie in some dick jokes. You can do it.
You can.
You can tie in dick jokes and have an enlightened conversation, for sure, for sure. But I don't know, kind of going on to like the future of where I'd like to see. I'm with you. I love seeing the control in the industry, not just the control, but the creative helm kind of being taken over by a lot of the performers, like, to the point where, working on mainstream sets, I'm seeing mainstream sets trying to do things that are more in line with what creators are producing, as opposed to the other way around. So I do think that it's a really promising shift in the future, for at least for creative control, and performer autonomy. I mean, what are your kind of thoughts on, like, where do you think we're going?
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
curious.
when I started, it was all, everyone was going to AVN to suck up to whatever director, and now people go to AVN just to shoot porn on their own time and don't care about whatever directors at the convention. So I think it's an entire flip. I think performers now have their entire careers at their own control. If you really want to be a famous porn star, you can move to Vegas, shoot content, trade every day for a year, and you will probably have a pretty successful career.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it really is very much so on your own steam at this point. You don't have to be an agency to send a DM to someone you want to work with.
nope. And I mean, particularly in Vegas right now, I mean, you're there, you see it. There's so many content creators that are there to make a career.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, I'm still figuring out who those folks are.
It just seems like there's so many people though who are doing that, and it just seems like there's such a it seems like there's almost this like almost negative hustle culture there where everyone feels like they have to work so much.
Uh, that's something that I really haven't involved myself with, but I've seen it with some of the people that I hang out with where I'm just
Mhm.
like, you're shooting content trade 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Like, you have a year's worth of content backlogged. You can take a day off and go hiking.
Yeah.
You can like I'm a pirate specifically so that I do have a couple days a week off. Like, that's why I got into being a pirate. Like, I didn't I didn't get into this line of work to like work 7 days a week
Yeah.
and lose sleep. Like, that's what you do in an office. Like, that's what God invented salary for. I'm not on a salary. I don't
Yeah.
have to
I
do
feel
that.
like I really relate. The longer I'm in it, the more I relate being a porn performer to being an athlete, where I feel like there's some people who want to just put everything into it every single day. And that's what they think is going to work out for them because they're like, once I'm successful, I'll be happy and it will all work out. But the thing is you can win these awards and stuff and you can still be very unhappy because your entire life is just only work and you're not really taking care of yourself. I feel like there's like this mentality, which I definitely engaged in that early in my career because I was like, I'm dealing with all this stuff outside of my career. And I was like, well, I'll just hyper focus on my career and then everything will be okay. And eventually it catches up with you, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, like, especially because to be fair, I'm somewhat guilty of it in just purely because I do work at the brothel 2 weeks a month and then cram everything else I'm doing into the other
Yeah.
2 weeks. And mind you, I corporate though they may be, I work at the very best, very like most respectful of my time and my autonomy brothel. Like, they
Mm-hmm.
are, Sherry's is fantastic. Like, they fully believe like whatever is good for my career is good for their career and like vice versa. So like, I'm able to like work and like do my like video shoots and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, even like during the 2 weeks that I'm like otherwise occupied at the ranch. But even so, um yeah, I had to like start consciously and mindfully taking days for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually just impulse booked a ticket to Germany, um
Oh, when are you going
to
to Germany?
a second half of August. So I'll be
Oh, I'm gonna
gone.
be in Europe the first half of August.
No, I'm missing it. When do
Yeah,
you
that's so
leave?
sad. I leave on the 2nd to Amsterdam.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, when do you come back though?
I think the 18th.
Oh, we'll have one day and
Oh,
one
well,
day in
that's too
Europe
bad.
together. But I'm gonna guess you're gonna be in the Netherlands, yeah?
Yeah, I think
Oh, okay.
my partner hasn't been to much of Western Europe, so I'm kind of just like, pick wherever you want to go. It's a $40 flight once you're in Europe. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
it's so easy
I
to pop around.
I have like a little route worked out because I have friends in like Berlin, Hamburg, and in Poland over in
Oh,
Wrocław.
fun.
So I'm like doing like a little like loop from like Berlin to Hamburg down to, I'm gonna stop in Prague first because Prague is like really pretty. And
Yeah, I hear there's like
yeah,
huge porn scene there too.
that's what I've heard. And I actually would love to like line up work while I'm out there. But when I asked my agent about any contacts that we have out in Europe, his response, and honestly everyone's response that I've talked to, said that you basically can't work out there unless you're okay with like ultra rough, you
Yeah,
know,
their shit's intense.
DAP. And I'm just like, the thing is that I am a much more intense performer with people I trust and with people I know. Like, you've seen, like, I'm just
Yeah,
like,
we do fucked up
go
shit
for
with
it.
the East Bay brats.
Yeah, and like I did some fucked up shit with King Noir, and it was great. Like,
Yeah.
but like like those are people like whose reputation I know, who
Yeah.
like the brats are a safe space. I know nobody's gonna do anything that I'm not okay with. Like, I I don't know anybody overseas. I don't know
Yeah.
anyone's reputation whatsoever. So I will very likely just be kind of reaching out for like content
Yeah,
collaborators who
there's a
might
lot
want
of
to
really
do some
cool
stuff.
content collaborators to work with in Berlin. That
Oh,
whole porn scene is like so hot. I think it's like Vegas, but in Europe
if
essentially.
if you happen to know anybody, by all means, I would
Definitely.
love kind of a link up because yeah, like as of right now, I'm just gonna probably do some casual content collaboration and just kind of do that because I'm out there for the funsies. I
Yeah.
need a palate cleanser after
Yeah.
the last
Yeah,
couple
there's
years.
I think you and Dion Rossi would probably make some really hot stuff. She's an Australian performer who lives in
Oh,
Berlin.
nice,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, she hosted us, Courtney and I, for a few different things, and we shot a bunch of. Oh, did you ever see the weird scene where Courtney and this girl stuck Kendall up their pussies?
No, but I love that.
Yeah, that was with Dion. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. No, I
Yeah.
did not see that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I do
That's
love that that gets worked into casual conversation. It's
yeah,
amazing. That's amazing.
that's the kind of weird porn that's being shot in Berlin. So
I'm here for it though.
yeah,
I'm
it's really cool.
absolutely, I mean, honestly, one of the first things I ever put in my vagina was a Barbie shoe. So, like,
Really?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It wasn't like a sexual thing though. I just put it in the
Huh.
pocket. Yeah. I don't know, man. I was really young. But yeah, no, I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it.
So I only have a few more questions left for you. So you've obviously accomplished a lot, especially lately. Like you're doing the whole agent thing. You just
Yeah.
shot for browsers, wasn't it?
It was Brazzers. Yeah, I had
Yeah,
my
that's
and they gave me the whole like, welcome to Brazzers to Pew. And I'm like, hey, you guys gonna fuck me some more now?
you're doing the
Yeah,
mainstream thing. So cool.
yeah.
So what do you still want to accomplish in this industry? Because obviously I don't
I'm
think you're going anywhere, right? You're sticking around.
no, I think y'all are stuck with me. Uh
Mhm.
I mean really what I'd like to accomplish and something that I'm making moves on right now is actually doing a lot more of my own self-produced content. I'm at I finally have like a space that I think is like worth filming in and I'm starting to know people that to film with. So like that's on my list of things that I want to start doing. I mean, there's some companies that I haven't shot for that I would love to shoot for, but like my goals at this point are just to, they're more, how do I say it? Like happiness and longevity based. Like I
Yeah.
want to get myself in, I want to be in a flow that is sustainable. I want to, have my own autonomous platforms and my own autonomous ability
Mhm.
to have income streams, to so that I could ostensibly someday, maybe go back to living in Germany or go back, or
Mhm.
find somewhere else to live or, maybe even just go back to Cleveland and enjoy their waterways. I don't
Yeah.
know,
To be
but
a superhero in Cleveland of the porn
yeah,
star.
exactly. Well, and occasionally, and kind of, do my occasional trips to Vegas for,
Yeah.
because I like to think that if Sherry's is still standing, I will be too. um,
Yeah.
like I want, I would. There's a woman who comes there every once in a blue moon who is my absolute fucking idol. Hashtag life goals. She comes there like once a year, stacks her appointments. Like she's just in the pool almost 24 hours a day with the only thing that changes is the person who's in the pool with her. And then she goes on back home to her horse ranch.
That's so badass.
Life goals. Oh my God. And she's the sweetest lady too. Like just like she lives in the Midwest.
I
I'll
feel like
just
there's
put
this
that.
Midwestern vibe of like, I went to California, I went to Vegas, I was successful, then I came back, and now I can just like be chill. Like, I feel that appeal, even though I don't know if I'd necessarily be happy back in Michigan. I have that fantasy in my head, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I did like a little like mini tour back in Cleveland during the pandemic
Hmm.
because I had to take care of some stuff back
Hmm.
there and the world was on fire. So, closer to
Definitely.
family. Um, and there's things about Cleveland that make me very happy, but the thing that makes me happiest is that it is attached to an international airport.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a place that I could see myself maybe when I'm like a really old lady. I could see
Yeah.
myself living there and like being super happy, but like it's in terms of like accessibility to like the rest of the world, yeah, it's a little isolated,
It really is. Yeah. I don't, until I'm in Chicago from Michigan, I don't feel like I'm in the rest of the world. I feel like I'm just like cut off from it.
Yeah, you're like in this weird like time warp. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it's still like somehow like I don't know, man. Handlebar mustaches and big wheel bikes are still clear cool in
Yep.
Cleveland. You know what I mean?
Um,
Like,
yeah. There's still like vape shops everywhere in Michigan. Everywhere. I'm like, we
yeah.
don't have those in California like that.
Well, I mean, I feel like okay, so like I have my theories about vape shops. I'll just put it that way.
Are
I
they a
have my
front?
theory. Oh, totally. I think that they're our generation's mattress firm. A thousand
Oh,
percent. Like that's my thinking of all the vape shops. But like also, I would never think such a thing because no one should be investigating the vape shops. Leave the vape shops alone. They're hurting nobody.
as you hit
So I
your
don't.
vape, you're like, no,
They're hurting no one.
they're fine.
No
Victimless
drug money
crime.
laundering here. No one was hurt. Least of all my lungs.
Yeah, I was in Michigan when they legalized it, and like everyone freaked the hell out. I was there in the middle of that, and people are like, "What? They're taking our vapes?"
Dude, they're like, I have a new vape because I broke my old one and I tried to buy an exact replacement. And the company that I bought, the only place that still has it, mind you, because it's discontinued, they sent it to me, but they couldn't resend it. It got sent back for some reason, and they couldn't resend it because in the time since I placed my order, the law changed and they're no longer allowed to sell, they're not no longer allowed to mail vape products through the US Postal Service out of state. So like, yeah, no vape for me.
They
We're going there.
also in California they got rid of the flavored blunt wraps too, because they're like that and increases children to want to smoke.
I mean,
Sad.
I'd say having a dumpster fire society is what makes kids want to do drugs, but like that
Also,
and good
when
old
I was a kid,
experimentation.
seeing all those like fancy cigarettes that were all the different flavors, I wanted to smoke those so bad. And then they were all legal by the time I legally could. So I never got to, which I guess is a positive thing, but
I mean, I lived through the beady era, because I don't
Mhm.
know. Am I older than you?
Maybe. How old are
I
you?
don't know. I'm 33.
Oh, I'm 30. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm a little bit older than you.
Yeah,
So
still a
yeah,
little bit.
but just old enough to actually have been able to like be a smoker during the era of the fancy cigarettes. And the only ones that were kind of worth a damn were cloves, which you can still get,
Oh,
and
yeah, I remember
beaties.
those.
Yeah,
What's
and
that?
like beaties were like they were kind of like a blunt, but they weren't. They were really small and they were wrapped in tobacco leaf. And like, so like there was no paper. It was literally just tobacco wrapped in a tobacco leaf like a blunt, but it was like very small and slender
Mhm.
and cone shaped and like had like a little tie string at the bottom. They were super adorable. And they were all like really good flavors like strawberry or cherry or like
Oh,
vanilla and
that
stuff
sounds
like that.
great.
Yeah, they were actually like, I'm not trying to be a smoking commercial. And honestly, if I tried to
I
hit one
know. We're
now, it
like,
would taste,
smoking sounds so good right now.
it sounds so good. Yeah, no, I mean, like,
I don't honestly remember last time I smoked a cigarette.
I went through a brief phase a couple of years ago where I smoked real cigarettes for like 2 months. And even then, they don't taste good anymore. Like, I will fantasize about like strawberry beaties, but like they would taste like acidy ass and not good ass, but like assy
Bad.
ass, bad ass, like uncleansed asshole. If I were to try to smoke them now. So like, but they that was the only brand that didn't like taste like buttholes, and those went first.
Is
Those went
is
way first.
is hookah really big in Ohio too, or is that just a Michigan thing because of Dearborn?
That's definitely more popular because of Dearborn,
Yeah.
where you guys are, but we do have hookah bars in Cleveland. It's just not as many of them.
Yeah,
There's actually
that's like the
surprising.
thing to do.
I actually still like hookah. I have a friend here in Vegas that is really into hookah. Um, and I in overseas, everyone like does hookah, you know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like that's like a thing to do. So like I do that every once in a while out here with her. I'll go feel like the caterpillar and you know. But
Totally.
yeah, it's nowhere near as big in Cleveland. That's
Yeah, I
that's that's
mean,
definitely
yeah, I
thanks
feel
to
like
your
that's
friends
the
in
weird
Dearborn.
thing about, yeah, Michigan, where it's again, for people who don't know, Dearborn's like a 90% Arab city. It's the most Arab people live there out of anywhere outside of the Middle East in the world. And it's just like the whole state, everyone smokes hookah, no matter who you are, no matter what race you are. It's just like, oh yeah, it's a thing you do.
Yeah, and I respect that. Like I big fan of
Yeah.
hookah, both hookah and Middle Eastern food. So
Oh yeah, both.
anything that brings both, like actually that's my favorite thing about Berlin, and like one of the things I'm
Oh
most
yeah,
excited
all
to
the
go back
Turkish
for.
food.
Oh my god, the
It's
Turkish
so
food.
good.
Like I'm not dreaming about schnitzel over here. I'm like, yes, Lavakun.
There's also really good Asian food in Berlin too. There's a really big Asian population.
I miss the good Asian food.
Yeah, you should check it
I miss
out.
that. Although I was there like 10 years ago.
Oh,
And so like at this point, maybe there's a better food scene for Asian food, but when I was there, that was not so much the case.
yeah, I've had really good Japanese food there and really good Korean food. Also, like the chicken curry katsu there, it is like a schnitzel curry hybrid. It's one of the best things ever.
Ooh, okay. I'll be checking that out. And I do
Definitely check
remember
that out.
there was really good Korean chicken wings
Mm.
in Berlin. I do remember that actually, weirdly enough. I actually completely and totally blocked out the Korean chicken wings, but now I remember them and I remember exactly where they were, no less. I will see if they're still
I,
there.
I feel like no one actually eats German food in Germany. I feel like no, when you go, it's always like Turkish food or something else.
Dude, the only time I ever made it a point to like go out for like a proper German dinner was when I was dating this dude who was like a failed writer who like maxed out his credit cards and then ran away to Berlin. Um,
Oh
I
my
make good
God,
choices.
that's a mess.
Oh, he was such a mess. Bless his heart. I hope he's well. Um, but he, because it didn't end badly. He was just a mess. But we went out for like this like fancy like traditional German dinner, and then went to go like look at like Potsdam Castle, and like we are like getting hot and heavy like making out because it was like
Mhm.
closing time, so there was no one around, and like I'm about to like get down on the grounds of the castle. I'm like yes, and then he's like, I gotta go. I'm gonna shit my pants. Like legit, like abruptly mid kiss. I gotta go, or I'm gonna shit my pants. And we went on a mad dash trying to find a bathroom, which we couldn't, which is odd, but we couldn't. It took so
Did
it
he
was
shit
literally
himself?
he did not shit himself, thank
Oh,
God. He did find a bathroom. I wish I could, right?
that would have been the best end of the story.
No,
That
it
is
would
you're
have
going
been.
off the podcast and then he
Oh,
shit
I wish
himself.
no, but he came
Oh.
so close to shitting himself. I mean, it was almost worse though, because I had to walk around this like little German, like I don't know if you've ever been to Potsdam, but it's
I
like just
have
outside
not. No.
Berlin, and it's like an old timey, old school like architecture. It's a little village kind of style thing.
Okay.
And like so he's like running around this like old town, like clutching his ass, doubled over,
Oh
clutching
my
his
God.
stomach, and like basically like crying for a bathroom for like half an hour until we finally found like the grossest like public one where you put like 50 cents in and it opens. Yeah. So like
Yeah.
that's almost like I was almost rooting for him to shit his pants in that moment, but he would have had to get into my van and get
Yeah,
back
you
to
would have
Berlin.
had
So
to.
like,
That's a high risk
yeah.
situation for you as much as him, honestly.
Yeah, no, it was high stakes. I didn't want him shitting all over himself and then sitting in my van.
Oh
So
my
like,
God.
but it was still German food, no. Turkish food, Hell yes. I
Hell
don't care if I
yeah.
have to wait 2 hours. I'm gonna have a Mustafa's like Durham while I'm there. Like
It's
absolutely
yeah, it's
here
just
for
so
it.
great. Berlin's just
I'm
such a
gonna
great city.
I'm gonna come back like 10 pounds heavier, and I'm so here for it. Like,
Go for it. The thick era.
oh fuck yeah, I've been there before. It's good.
Yeah.
It's a good look on me. But yeah, no, super exciting. I guess thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I
Like
have
this
one
has
more
been
question.
super dope.
I have
Oh, you
I have one
do?
final
Oh,
question. I mean, I was gonna end it if he shit. I think that would have been the way to end it, but I have one more question. You kind of answered this in a way before, but you kind of. So let's say you wake up tomorrow and one thing could magically be changed in porn. What would you have it be?
one thing could magically be changed in porn. What would it be? That's such a hard question.
You want me to take up time answering it so you can think?
Yeah, do. Yeah, you tell
I
me what
want
you
to
would
just.
change.
I just want it 5 years in the future. I think all the shitty studios aren't going to be here anymore. I think there's going to be more power to performers. We kind of talked about that a little bit before, but yeah, I think like advancing everything 5 years, I think is gonna be really positive. And I think the industry is just gonna be in a better place. And I think it's just generally moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, for me, I'm on a similar end, but I don't know if this is something I would change about porn, because the thing is I don't think we need. I'm with you. I don't think we need to change the direction it's going or need to wake up tomorrow and have creators with all of the control, because we're getting there anyway. Like
Yeah.
it's not like a. It's slowly but surely, again, the studios are caving to trying to shoot what we're shooting. You
Yeah, I
know what
wanted
I
like
mean?
80% performer power, 20% studio power. Like that
Yeah,
feels
yeah.
good.
And I think that that's where we're going 100%. But if there's one thing I could change, it would be payment processing. I would like
Mhm.
to wake up, if I had a magic power, it would be to wake up in a world where I have no more risk of losing my ability to like bank than
Yep.
if I had a cleaning service.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that's really the one thing I would change, is like the insecurity in terms of being able, because like I send money to like my brother to keep him afloat.
Mhm.
And if I lose my payment processing, I lose that. I lose the ability to be a normal person,
Mhm.
not just a porn performer. And that's I think one of the scariest things about being a performer is because what we're doing is legal. What we're doing is
Yeah,
we pay taxes.
we
We
surely
have
do.
Oh, good God.
It
Yes.
sucks.
Oh, it hurts. Yeah, but we don't have any sort of banking protections. And I think
Mhm.
if there's one thing I could wake up and change, it would be just like a magic button that means we get to bank wherever and however any other person gets to bank.
Yeah, just stopping the criminalization of the
Yeah,
financial sector for sex workers in this country. Even the ones who are doing legal sex work, we're still being criminalized.
exactly. And personally, I mean, so many conversations about decrim and how everybody should be
Mhm.
able to pursue. I personally think that, considering how much don't get me wrong, I'm not going to play into that like happy horror narrative of like everybody who does this job thinks it's the best job ever and it's like ultra wonderful and validating for them, because it's
Yeah,
not. But that's true for people who work on Wall Street. That's true for
for
people who
sure.
work
Any
in
job.
dentists offices. Yeah, some people are going to love it, some people are going to just
Mhm.
deal with it because it provides for them. But I think that it is a violation of the supposedly constitutional. Well, I guess that's the Declaration of Independence, but still, supposedly, we have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You know what I mean? That's something that we're
Mhm.
supposed to be founded on. We talk about how I was just hearing about how, well, what douche nozzle politician, I think it was JD Vance, was saying some
Fucking all of
the
them. All of
complete
them.
fucking knob. Jesus Christ. But I think he was talking about how, like, you know, pornography is leading to a decay of original American values. And I'm just like, well, but like orgasms make people happy. And it makes me happy to give people orgasms. Is the pursuit of happiness not one of the American founding ideals? Are
Yeah.
we saying it's not? Because I mean, I'm okay if we're just going to admit that we're not here to pursue happiness. But if, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
one thing has to be true. Like it is a mutually exclusive thing. Either that's true or you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just flies in the face, in my opinion.
I I just so genuinely feel like there's so much stuff that I feel like politicians don't really want to get anything done because it doesn't feel like it helps them in any way, because they want you to vote for them either way. And, if nothing gets done, you need to vote to change it. And it feels like this like durable in a treadmill thing where you're just
Yeah.
like, it's constantly this run. And I'm just like so truly disillusioned by it right now.
Uh, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I
you
mean,
live in a
like,
swing state, which is great. Like your vote's actually gonna matter.
oh, I hear that. Oh,
Mhm.
sorry, I'm declining.
Oh, okay, we're back. Yeah, I think what we were saying is, yeah, it feels like politicians really don't give a fuck about making stuff change, and it feels like there's just not much hope with any really advocating for sex work being decriminalized. I think I can name on a hand the amount of politicians who have actually called for that in this country. So I don't know. It leaves
Well,
me kind of
it's
discouraged.
I 100% feel you because right now, because you're right, they don't want to do anything.
Mhm.
Sex workers are an excellent scapegoat to say, look, we're doing something.
Yep.
So, by restricting our ability to live full lives, by restricting our ability to participate fully in society, they're saying that they're ending sex trafficking that wasn't
Mhm.
happening in the first place, instead of actually, I don't know, ending the assault on trans rights or ending the assault on women's rights or ending the assault on literally everybody, every single progressive piece of legislation, voting rights, you know, um, everything, literally everything is under attack that every like small gain that we've made towards a more just society over the last like
Mhm.
100 years or so is like very viciously under attack right now in ways that it really hasn't been in the last like 20, 30
Yeah.
years, you know. It's a I don't mean to get super political, but I mean the personal is political and it's getting
Yeah.
super duper personal out here.
Yeah.
Like there's people actively calling for genocide. There's genocide actively happening right
Mhm.
now. I mean, like if you actually look at the true meaning of genocide, which we don't like to do, we like to think that genocide is just death and not the societal eradication of a culture,
Yeah.
um, which is what it really is. So, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's such a light and happy and fun
Yeah,
podcast,
I know,
but
but I feel like it's
but
also important to talk about these things, and have it also be reflected.
well, because I mean, truth be told, I mean, not that that is kind of the double-edged sword of being a sex worker, is that, we are the canary in the coal mine. We are the first population very often that these tactics are tried on.
Mhm.
Anybody paying attention could see that FOSTA SESTA was a warm up for the Earn It Act. And, one specifically targeted sex workers, the other one targets literally everybody. And it's the same thing happening. I mean, as soon as I don't know. Basically, it's this weird thing where we see what's coming a good couple of years before everybody else. But because we're sex workers, no one listens.
I mean, I just feel like what happened in 2016 in California, the night that Trump got elected, there was on the ballot in California, it was going to essentially make porn illegal to shoot in the whole state. And that
Jesus.
yeah, and it got voted down, which was honestly my first celebration that night, where I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I don't have to move for my job anymore. But at the same time, it's just like that even got to that point, that my job was essentially on the ballot. It's just
My
really, really fucked up.
my job went on the ballot in 2019. Maybe it was 2018, 2018, 2019. It wasn't an
Yeah.
official voting ballot, but there's a group called No Little Girl that because they think no little girl grows up wanting to be a sex worker, um, they were petitioning to get us shut down. And they actually managed to get so far as to get the position put on the county commission ballot. And we had to sit there and wait and make sure and wait and see if we were going to have a job still. or if we were going to get shut down by a bunch of Christian aunties who have no idea what it's like to actually, you know, do my job. They want it to be illegal. Yeah. So like it's an interesting time to be alive. But it's still but the crazy thing is realistically, I mean, trying to be somewhat positive, is going back to what you said earlier, this is the most accepting time in history to be a sex worker. So like, I don't know, man, it kind of gives perspective to what like the humans before us went through, you know, in terms of if this is the good time.
Yeah, truly.
You know,
but I think that's why it's important to have these stories out there that people can revisit, and just really illuminating the history of sex work during this time with this podcast has been so important to me, because there's just so many reasons why people are in porn and reasons why they got into it and what they've gotten out of it. It's just, I think there's really not one uniform narrative. And I think that's really the important thing that I hope people take from this, you know?
That 1,000%. I can't tell you how many times I've given the answers to like interviewers to like questions that they're asking, hoping for like the traumatic answer. They want the bad answer.
Yeah.
Like when they ask me, when they ask me like, when did you lose your virginity? And I say, you know, I was 16 with a long-term boyfriend, where they're always like, was he a lot older?
Ew.
Was, you know, and it's always like,
yeah,
why do you want me to have been taken advantage of? Like, why do you want me to have come from do you want me to have either a family that has totally disowned me or is non-existent in my life? Like, why does it bug you when I say that my family, I actually got congratulations from my family for my Brazzers debut. Like, because that's what it is. Like, no, they don't watch my porn. As a matter of fact, I warn them what sites to avoid. You know what I mean? They don't watch my porn, but I get congratulations. And that for some reason that really doesn't fit the narrative. And just like you get congratulations from your family, and that doesn't fit their narrative of we're all from broken homes with violent histories and drug problems and alcohol problems. Like, finding out that we're a bunch of like, you know, very tame stoners who probably drink too much coffee.
But also the people who did come from that porn is their way out of that situation. I feel like that's never depicted, where, you know, for athletes, it's depicted all the time where it's like, oh, they're from this really poor neighborhood. They use basketball or whatever to get out. I feel like those stories need to be shared in porn too, because they're just kind of erased. And it's like, well, poor girl from broken home, and now she lives in Vegas and is fine. And it's just or she's bad because she does porn.
Exactly. It's always poor girl from broken home resorted to doing pornography, not living her best life, like being a bimbo and making bank. And like, I love my life, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm one of the, and again, boring story, but still, like, no one wants to hear that. They don't want to hear she got out of a shitty situation. Yeah. They want to hear she went from one shitty situation to another terribly exploitive situation. Yeah. They want us all to be Cosette. Yep. You know what I mean? Like selling our hair and dying of tuberculosis, and then we're done. That's what they want. So,
well, here's to this generation of sex workers making that different. So, where can everyone find you on social media and stuff?
If I haven't completely alienated you by now.
I mean, I think people are pretty down. If you are having the full hour context, I think they're down. If they lasted this long.
Thank you. Welcome, comrades. But no, my social medias are all under @JupiterJetson. So on Twitter, I'm @JupiterJetson. Instagram, same thing. All my links /JupiterJetson will get you there. And it's just like spelled like the planet and the cartoon. So 1 T.
Well, thank you so much. I had so much fun chatting with you.
Yeah, right. Likewise.
Bye, everyone.
Until next time. Well, see you.